Hello my lovely internet friends and welcome back to my channel. I originally planned to do this video much earlier than I'm doing it now, but you know, better late than never. I am 39 and a half weeks pregnant, so I'm literally due in 4 days. But you know, she hasn't come out yet, so I can still film this video, and even if she had come out, I would still want to film this video. Anyway, this is a recap on my second trimester, the golden trimester, the honeymoon phase of pregnancy. If you haven't watched my first trimester recap, you can go back and watch it here. But other than that, let's get straight into it. Like everyone says, trimester 2 is like the best trimester because you kind of get over the sickness. Your belly's growing to be nice and round and cute, and you're not yet too uncomfortable. I definitely felt like I had more energy. Definitely still had exhaustion and fatigue, but nowhere near as much as my first trimester exhaustion and fatigue. That was something else. For me, in my second trimester, it was kind of like I felt more like myself, just growing larger. In my second trimester is when we finally kind of started emerging out of lockdown, so everyone was asking me like, oh my gosh, how are you feeling? Oh, the sickness, right? And I'd be like, I feel pretty normal. That's literally what I would tell people. Pretty good, just growing larger. That was kind of like the general baseline of how I felt. I do have my notes here of more detailed symptoms, experiences. First one is a bit TMI, but honestly, all of pregnancy I feel like is TMI. There's no way around it. I suffered with constipation in the first few weeks of my second trimester, and eventually it kind of just became more regular, normal, nothing too much of a struggle, which was great for me. I mean, who doesn't love easy bowel movements? I did start feeling my baby move around a little, kicking a bit more, but I also had an anterior placenta. Not exactly sure like the precise location of it, but basically anterior placenta is your placenta is at the front of your uterus. And yeah, that was mine. I don't know where it is now, might have moved. So my midwife did tell me that it kind of acts like a cushion, so I might not be able to feel baby's movements or kicks as strongly because, you know, it's in the way. But honestly, I don't think it really affected me that much. I think the first time I felt her move was at 13 weeks. I know that sounds crazy and like really early on, and lots of people will probably be like, there's no way that was your baby. I can tell the difference between my baby and a gurgling tummy. I assure you that this was my baby. It was not anything drastic or strong or like karate kick or anything, but I definitely felt something. I remember thinking it could be baby, it could not be baby, it could just be my tummy doing things. But further down the track, when I did feel her move more and I was like, that's definitely her, I could kind of tell that it felt like the same movement, just it was a bit weaker. I felt her move at around 13 weeks internally. I couldn't feel her, like I couldn't touch my belly and feel her kick my hand or whatever, but I did feel her in my belly. I think the next time I did feel her was around 20 weeks. And after that, around like 21, 22 weeks, I started to feel her on the outside as well. It wasn't like every time she kicked, I'd feel her on the outside. It was only sometimes, but that's the time I definitely felt her more frequently. Early on in my second trimester as well, my gums started to bleed when I brushed my teeth, and I did know that was something that could happen. Luckily though, I'm not one of the people that started gagging from brushing their teeth. I can't imagine that. I would mainly bleed between my front two teeth. Doesn't happen to everyone, but it is a common thing that does happen. And it's not like I was brushing my teeth like aggressively. It just happened. So this is something I didn't really expect, but my body odor got a lot worse, particularly on my left armpit. My right armpit, not so much, but my left one, oh my goodness. And I'm not someone who really suffers with BO that badly. Okay, I'm gonna be really honest here. I never actually was someone to use antiperspirant throughout school or anything like that. I remember using it a little bit more throughout uni. If you don't know, I did go to drama school, not a regular uni where you sit down in lectures all the time. We were moving around a lot, so we're doing a lot of physical work. So I did start using deodorant then, but still again, not that often because I would find that I didn't necessarily smell that bad. But now being pregnant, my left armpit smells absolutely awful. Not all the time, but it definitely has its moments. So because like growing up I didn't really suffer with BO very much, that's something that's kind of new to me, and it will always catch me off guard like in the middle of the day, especially if it's like really like hot outside. Sometimes I'd forget to put on my deodorant and I'd be like, oh damn, I smell really bad and I don't have my deodorant with me right now. So yeah, I occasionally forgot to put it on, still occasionally forget to put it on, and then I end up smelling bad and there's nothing else I can do about it. But you know what? I'm pregnant, so I feel like I have a bit of a free ticket there. So aversions and cravings. I did mention this in my first trimester recap, I believe, but I did start getting aversions to eggs and Mexican food. I don't know why. Kind of sad about the Mexican food thing, not because I love it or anything, but one of my go-to meals to cook that is like super easy is nachos. It's like literally, it's so easy and it's delicious. But just thinking about it made me and eggs as well. Also another really sad one because eggs are really good for you, especially while you're pregnant. I definitely did get more cravings, but again, nothing crazy, nothing like pickles and ice cream. I just was more inclined to sweet foods and desserts, just ice cream, brownies, apple pie, just, you know, dessert foods, just I've always been a bit of a sweet tooth, but I was able to control it more before I was pregnant. When you're pregnant and you have cravings, it's kind of like this insatiable thing until you have it. You know how usually they're just like, oh, if you feel like having lollies or something, have fruit instead because that's nature's candy. No, when you're pregnant, that does not cut it. You need to have the thing that you want. I can't remember exactly what it was for, but I remember I tried to kind of replace my craving with something else, and it was a really similar thing, like really similar. But it wasn't exactly the thing that I wanted, like the specific like brand or whatever, and I still craved it until I had it. But yeah, desserts and just icy cold beverages. So a major thing for me, still to this day, slushies. Slushies are the best, or Slurpees, whatever you want to call it, frozen drink. Slushies hit the spot. And the fact that they're just $1 at Macca's and $1 at 7-Eleven, so good. Even with my water, to this day, I cannot have room temperature water. And I know for a fact that room temperature water is better for your body, because when you drink like icy cold water, your body still needs to regulate the temperature of it before it can be fully like absorbed is not the right word, but I'm gonna say absorbed. But I can't stand room temperature water, or even just like slightly cold. It has to be like ice cold to really be like, that's refreshing. That's the thing. I like refreshing beverages. So something that's icy cold, like slushies, or like literally ice cold water, carbonated drinks. Love carbonated drinks because that fizz just gives like a refreshing element to it, which is fantastic, and I love it. I started getting a lot of flavored sparkling water, so I wouldn't drink too much soft drink, which has like loads of sugar. Now this is something that was only really a second trimester thing. Now being in my third trimester, it's not really much of an issue. In fact, I can tell 100% that it's like so much better. But baby brain was so weird for me. Like when you hear baby brain, you usually think of, oh, she's really forgetful these days. She puts things like her keys accidentally in the fridge. I'm pretty sure I know someone who's actually done that. That's not how I experienced baby brain at all. In fact, when I put things in a random place, that's just me in general. But the way I experienced baby brain was kind of like a form of dyslexia. It was so weird. Like I could visualize the words in my head of what I wanted to say, but when it came out, it was just all jumbled up. And I literally I could not connect any of the words that I actually wanted to say. I knew what I wanted to say, but actually saying it was just a struggle and a half. And that was my baby brain. It was the weirdest thing ever. And throughout the entire second trimester, that's how it was. I don't know, it was just so weird. I can't explain it. That was my baby brain in the second trimester. And now it's fine. it's gone. Like that doesn't exist anymore for me. I also started developing the brown line that you get down your stomach, which is called like the linea nigra or something like that. At first it was only from below my belly button down to my pubic bone area, but then it started developing along my entire belly. So now I have this lovely brown line down my stomach. Also, my acne got 10,000 times better. My acne stopped developing the way that it was in the first trimester. It was so bad. They would come like big red rays in clusters. It went away, which was fantastic. I mean, I'd obviously get the odd one every now and again, but it was nothing like the first trimester. The only thing is that I was left with quite a lot of pigmentation, and I still kind of have that, but it's gotten so much better. Talking about pigmentation and like brown marks and whatever, I realized that my belly button started getting darker, and on top of that, pigmentation and pregnancy is so weird, and I will definitely touch more on this in my third trimester recap. Yeah, my belly button started growing darker in color and becoming brown. My nipples, larger and darker. But not only that, with my skin starting to change color in certain areas, I actually started growing more freckles and moles. I started noticing it on my nipples, like my areola area, and I even have this brand new mole on my belly button. I remember when I first noticed it, I thought I had like lint stuck in my belly button, which that's not something I usually get. When I was in the shower, I was just like, oh my gosh, what is this massive chunk? Yuck. And I tried cleaning it out. I'm like, why isn't it going away? I'm like, oh my gosh, it's a mole. I grew a new mole in my belly button. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna go away, to be honest. I know that a lot of pigmentation goes away after you give birth, but this is not just pigmentation. It's not like the color's changed. That's a mole. I don't think that's going anywhere anytime soon. Something that started happening really early on was basically it feels like your pubic bone is bruised, and when you walk, it just is a constant like dull kind of pain that's just sitting there, and it really fluctuated day to day, and it really wasn't that bad at the beginning. It was just something new that I experienced and was like, what is this sensation? And something else that I experienced, which I think is actually related to it, is when I was sleeping, my hips would start to ache depending what side I was sleeping on. So if I was sleeping on my right side, eventually in the middle of the night I would wake up because my right hip, just that general area, it just felt really achy. So then I'd roll over to the other side and be like, go back to sleep. And then later on throughout the night, I'd wake up with the same thing, but on my left side because I was lying down on my left side. I started getting it a lot more at the end of my second trimester, but it wasn't anything that was debilitating. We will talk about that in my third trimester recap. Another thing that I experienced physical pain-wise was pulling my ab muscles. I really didn't know what it was at first, and it freaked me the heck out. It was this sharp, stabbing pain right above my belly button. Honestly, the first time it happened to me, I freaked out. I was Googling it. I'm like, is there something wrong with my baby? I didn't necessarily tell this to my midwife because I forgot about it. But the first appointment I had with her, she wanted to check my belly and everything. And when I went to get up from lying down, I kind of just like pulled myself up. Let's be honest, no one really rolls over. When we get up, we like to just use our ab muscles to be like, I'm getting up. So that's what I did. That's not when I pulled my ab muscle. That would have been really embarrassing. But I did that to get up, and she was like, no, lie down and do that again. That is not how you get up. You have to roll over on your side to get up. And I was like, oh, okay, great. But yeah, basically, because your body is producing a hormone called relaxin to relax your muscles, you're more prone to injury. I pulled my ab muscle like maybe 3 times. It wasn't necessarily because I wasn't rolling to get out of bed from a lying down position. There was one time I think I might have done it accidentally. I was lying down in bed, my dog decided to come up to me. She got stuck on my charging cable for my phone and then just pulled everything down from my bedside table. So I was just like, oh my gosh, I freaked out, and then the pain is so bad. I think I am definitely more prone to pulling ab muscles as well because I actually did pull an ab muscle when I was in uni. It was a very cold day, it didn't warm up properly. We were doing this physical piece, so we were like running around doing stuff, and there was this thing, like a lift that we were doing that we weren't quite used to just yet. And when I went to do it, I just pulled my ab muscle and it was excruciating. And I didn't really realize that that's what it was until the second time that it happened to me in my pregnancy. I was like, oh my gosh, that's what it is. I'm pulling my ab muscles. So yeah, that was something really unexpected that I experienced. Towards the end of my second trimester, I also just started to get more exhausted easily from walking around doing absolutely nothing, getting out of breath. I remember being in the shops with my little sister one time. We were shopping for something and I was just like, let's just stand here in this aisle for like a good few minutes because I am exhausted. And it's not like we were walking super fast, running around. Oh gosh, it's just such a weird thing. Like you can't really explain it, but you just get out of breath from doing absolutely nothing. I also started to experience like a lot of fluid retention. I remember the first time I experienced this was in Bible study. It's kind of like this pulling effect that I got, not pulling. I mean, I was sitting down on a chair during Bible study. I wasn't like standing up for a very long time, but at the end when we went to leave and I stood up, my legs just felt so tight and just like bending them felt, again, super tight, but also straightening my legs. If I fully straightened it, it would be painful and like a sharp twinge of pain. So when I was like standing or walking, my legs would be in like this weird like half bent kind of position. It was really uncomfortable and it was really weird, but again, it didn't happen all the time. My reflux basically disappeared towards the beginning of the trimester, but towards the end I started getting it again and with heartburn. And I can definitely say this time that it was heartburn because I definitely felt that burning sensation. Because I remember when I was in my first trimester, I was like, oh, I got reflux, but like, you know, reflux, heartburn's kind of the same thing. No. I definitely know the difference now. I mean, they do correlate, but I started getting really bad heartburn towards the end and I was like, oh my gosh, what the heck is this sensation? Kind of felt like there was like a lump in my throat and I couldn't get rid of it. And I kept thinking, you know what? I'm fine. I can deal with this. I don't need any kind of anti-heartburn reflux medication. But then I started taking this thing because I couldn't handle it anymore. And that was great. Real lifesaver. Also with my mood towards the last few weeks of my second trimester, I started getting really irritable. It's not anything to do with like me being uncomfortable with my body and like just being like in pain and tired. Just small things would really just irritate me and really tick me off. But that was only for like a week or two, so that was fine. And also something that started happening towards the end, I started growing cellulite on my thighs, my butt, on the backs of my arms, and I still have it. And it's weird because people probably think I was like the luckiest teenager not experiencing BO or cellulite, but I really didn't experience cellulite when I was going through puberty, but now I have it. And it's a really weird thing to see and get adjusted to, but it's something I kind of got over pretty easily. You can't necessarily see it all the time, only when my body's in like certain positions, and you know, it wasn't something that bothered me too terribly, but it was something new that I had experienced not just throughout this pregnancy, just in my life in general. Those are basically like key kind of symptoms and points that I experienced throughout my second trimester. I will definitely do my third trimester recap when I can, after this baby is born. But I am telling you now, there are so many things that I have to talk about when it comes to the third trimester. We will get there when we get there. Hopefully this little girl comes out soon. Honestly, I think she's gonna come past her due date, but who knows, she might surprise us. I'm honestly not feeling uncomfortable. I want her out just because I want to hold her in my arms already instead of my belly and just snuggle with her and just love her and all that kind of cute stuff. If you're pregnant and watching this, maybe you can relate and be like, oh my gosh, same, I didn't realize that anyone else was experiencing this. I definitely did feel that when I experienced some of these symptoms. I was like, oh my gosh, this is not a pregnancy thing, is it? It's just me, but it's just pregnancy. Pregnancy does so many weird and wonderful things to your body. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a like, subscribe to my channel, and ring the bell icon so you know every time that I post. Thank you again so much for watching, and I hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you are. Bye!